What's up, everybody, and welcome to Fack Off Friday number 2. Realize it's been a few weeks, and apologize for that, but life happens, and I got busy. But I'd like to thank everybody for making the original or the first episode um, really, really successful, and all the comments. It's been awesome. Yeah, man, you guys rule, and thank you so much for that. So let's just get right into it. And one of the first questions I wanted to answer this week is actually one that I got a couple weeks ago from Litos Mendes. And I think the question is about underrated or obscure amps that I like. And I don't know about obscure. They're not really obscure, but the two that come off the top of my head are the Marshall DSL series. I really like the 100 watt DSL. The 50 is cool too, but the 100 just has like this extra girthiness to it. And I think, I've talked a lot about that on Chug Life group and various things on Facebook, internet, whatever, about how I think they're a sleeper. You don't see a ton of them out there. I mean, there are tons of them out there, but you don't see a bunch of guys using them all the time. And I think with a boost, like a good boost in front of it, man, they are scary good. Like, put a curtain over it and don't tell anybody you're playing like a totally average amp, and they won't believe it. They sound that good. I like to boost mine with a few pedals, but I like the Hex Drive a lot. I like the Duality by Deadweld, and I also like the Savage Drive by Aris Effects. All three of those pedals sound awesome in front of the DSL. I'm pointing to it because it's right there. The other one is a PV Triple X. I've also talked about that in the forums, or not the forums. I don't go to forums, on the Facebook pages. Yeah, I think that's a great amp. I got one like a couple years ago, I think now, or a year and a half ago, for about $350, and put some new tubes in it, and it just rocks. It sounds great. I don't claim that to be the best amp ever, but it's a really, really great amp. It's a completely 100% viable gigging performing amplifier, and they're so cheap. I think they're going up now, but they're definitely a cool amp. Those two amps are underrated, not obscure, but underrated. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. The next question is from Hayes on 9, and he asks, what is my view on all these green type OD boost pedals? Are they basically all the same, or the more you spend, the more you gain? Well, I don't know about, all that. There are a million of them. And the reason there are a million of them is because we can't get enough, right? We, as guitar players, we love them. We love pedals. We can't get enough of them. So it's partly it's partly our fault because we keep buying them from all these different places. But I do think that there are some builders that you get more. I'm obviously a huge fan of the Fortin stuff, but I think what you pay for there is like a very specific knowledge base that a lot of other things don't have. I think that's also applicable in other brands as well. I think there are a lot of builders like that have a specific thing that they do, and you may pay $200 for a pedal, or $250 or whatever for a pedal, but you're getting that builder's knowledge that your average thing doesn't have. And then that being said, there are some really great cheap alternatives too, man. I mean, one of my favorite pedals is $99, and it's the MXR Custom Badass Modified OD, or Custom Modified Badass Overdrive. I can't remember how they word it, but that's what it is. It's a gold one, and it rocks, man. I think it's killer. I sing its praises a lot on the Chug Life group and all that kind of stuff as well. But I do think you get more when you buy from certain builders. I think there are a lot of builders out there that just have that certain knowledge set and skill set that deliver something else, especially in, the Tube Screamer clone thing, because I mean, anyone can make, I mean, it's really easy to make a Tube Screamer clone. I mean, it's super easy. And when you take that extra little bit of something to put it in there that gets you that sound that takes you from, average to something special, that's worth some dough, in my opinion. That's just me. All right, so next question is Joey Carvalho. He says some really, really nice things about my playing, and I really, really appreciate that, brother. But he says, so how can one develop and build up such a tight right arm chugginess attack? And you know, the only way the way that I developed it was just playing along with a bunch of records at an early age. It's hard for me to kind of say exactly how to do it, other than you know, one thing I think is really important is maybe set a metronome to you know, start at maybe 100 BPM or something like that, and just down pick eighth notes. Just down pick, you know, like maybe tune in a drop tune or something like that. So it's real easy. You can just sit there and do it. You don't have to worry about your left hand, you know, and just sit there and just chug eighth notes, and slowly increase that BPM on the metronome until you get to, you know, something that's really fast. And by that I mean maybe like the beginning of let's see, Disposable Heroes or something like that from Master Puppets album. You know, something like that. When you can down pick all of that. Also, Skeletons in the Closet by Anthrax. That's a good one. I'm saying old stuff because that's how I learned. I learned on old stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think that right there, just getting those down picks clean and fast, and then you can start working on to get, you know, galloping and quads and triplets and all that kind of stuff, or thrashlets as I like to call them, because they're not really triplets. But yeah, man, I just, you know, a metronome and listening to records, playing along with records. I played along with Justice. I played along with Masters of Puppets, or Master of Puppets, Masters of the Universe, He-Man. Master of Puppets, Among the Living, Speak English or Die, as everyone knows. I love that record. So yeah, man, playing along, using a metronome, and just developing over, you know, using that metronome to kind of speed up, just like you would anything else. It's just the same exact premise as playing leads or playing fast lead stuff. You got to build up to it, and the same thing with the down picking onslaught. You just got to work up to it. All right, so D White asks, "Hey Jason, I'm also a huge fan of the SOD tone, and I wanted to know what gear you have used to achieve that tone. I got the KHDK Sergeant D pedal, but I'm finding it hard to dial in the tone. Do you have any pointers to getting that pedal sounding like the demo you did? I really like your demos, always killer riffs and content. Thank you, brother." So I think the closest I got was with my 2204 and my grind pedal, that first one I ever did, that first video I ever did. Because the grind really kind of is a TC pre that has been kind of preset. That's kind of what the grind is. It's kind of like a one-stop shop for if you're using the TC pre. So the grind in front of that amp really kind of did it for me. Let's see. The KHDK pedal I got as well. And in a video I did of that, I just used the boost section into a DSL 100. It sounded okay. It's not my favorite tone, to be honest. If I'm being completely honest, it wasn't my favorite sound I ever got. But I just wanted to use the boost section of it just to try and see what that was all about. I did end up finding out that I really liked the KHDK pedal with the distortion side and the boost side when I used them both in front of the amp in the clean channel, which is pretty weird. I normally would go into the loop return with a preamp style pedal like that, but I ended up going into the front of a DSL 100 into the clean channel, and I liked it. And I'm gonna play a video for you real quick. It's just iPhone cam, but I normally would not just I would not, you know, post a video of me playing into an iPhone on my YouTube stuff, but it sounds pretty good actually, and it kind of gives you it actually does give you a pretty good representation of the sound. So check that out now. All right, so that was the KHDK into the clean channel of the DSL, and I thought, you know, I was happy with that result. I did like it better than going into the loop return. So maybe try it in the clean channel if you've got an amp that you like that's got a good clean channel. Maybe try it in front of that and give that a whirl. All right, so there's a couple of y'all that have asked about video production and all that kind of stuff. So I use a Sony Alpha 6400 camera. I got that earlier this year. It's kind of a middle grade camera, but it works great for me. And so that's what I use to film with. Audio wise, I speak into an Audio Technica 4033 microphone that's right here. And that's like a large diaphragm condenser microphone. And it works great. It's also just a great utility mic. It works for just about everything, for guitars, for voice, for overheads, for drums, for acoustic guitar. It's a great mic. So the AT 4033, I recommend it, and it's not very expensive. It's like $200 or $300, I think, tops. As far as video editing and all that stuff, I use either DaVinci Resolve or iMovie just because they're super easy. iMovie's super easy, and for something like this, I'll just use iMovie just because it's just me speaking. But and I'm not into the whole big effects and the cinematic stuff. Well, there's an email. If you want to see like movie style stuff, then this isn't the channel. This is about riffs and tones. So, but I find, you know, just using basic software works really great for me. And the Alpha 6400 and the 4033, and there you have it. Moletta Studios asks, what's my least favorite tube amp? And man, I think my most unfavorite tube amp I ever played was the Diamond Spec Op. That's kind of it's a sort of obscure amp. I mean, I think some of y'all probably know. I mean, I think a lot of y'all know about Diamond amps, but the Spec Op, I'm not sure if they even make it anymore. And I think Diamond's been sold a couple of times since that amp was put out. I think it's changed hands a couple times, but yeah, that amp, man, that thing bummed me out. I thought something was wrong, like something was broken, but then talked to a couple other guys and they were like, nope, that's what it sounds like. So anyway, not trying to pick on Diamond because I'm sure they make some cool stuff, but that amp was no good. Brian Owens asks, I play 7 strings tuned to A standard. Would you still recommend V30s for low tunings like this, or are there other speakers you suggest? Well, of course, I think V30s work for everything. I mean, I think they're kind of like, I honestly really do. I think they do work for everything. There's no doubt about that. They'll stay tight for, you know, drop A or A, extended scale A. They will, you know, they'll do all that stuff. Now, does that mean that they're the best thing for that or whatever? No, I mean, obviously that's personal taste. I mean, there's a lot of people that hate those speakers. So, and some for good reasons and some for just pile on bandwagon internet reasons. But to answer your question, yes, I think the Celestion Redback is a cool one. It's a very high power handling one. So it's really, really tight. I think it's a really good option for drop tune players. I also think the Creamback 75 is awesome. It's a really firm sounding speaker, good tight bottom end. So I mean, just right there between the Redback and the Creamback 75, I think you have a good option. And the cool thing is the Creamback 75 mixes great with V30s. So if you have a V30 cab, you can pop a couple out, put the 75s in, and maybe X pattern that bad boy. And I think you'd be stoked about it. So hope that helps. All right, next question is from Andrew Ongley, and he asks, what drove your decision to include direct profiles in your Kemper pack? It really sets your pack apart when most makers don't. Well, I'll tell you, man, I just did some market research. I went into a couple of Kemper groups and I asked people what they wanted. And I think that goes a long way. I don't think a lot of people do that. So I just went in and I was like, hey, if you're going to buy a pack, what would you look for? And a lot of people answered. There are two answers that I got: direct profiles and profiles with no boost. So that's why there's quite a few. I mean, there's a bunch of profiles in my pack with boost, but there's a lot of them that aren't too. There's a lot that don't have boosts. Um, I think I was surprised that people like to use their pedals and stuff into the Kemper. I was kind of surprised about that. And now that the Kemper has, I think, a couple more overdrive pedal in the new softwares, that kind of helps too. But initially, it was just that one tube screamer that they had in there. And anyway, so yeah, I just asked some questions, and that's what people said. It's interesting, when I was doing those, I had a lot of fun with those direct ones because the way I had my workflow set up, I could test them immediately through a power amp into a cab as soon as I did them. So I was blown away, like how close I was getting. It was really, really, really close. So I'm stoked that you like the direct ones, because that was something cool and a little bit different that I got to do with that pack. So thanks for the question. And speaking of Kemper profiles, Boosh Ben asks, are any more Kemper profiles coming? And absolutely, there's going to be some more coming. I don't know when that's going to be. Actually, I haven't fired my Kemper up in a good long while, probably 8 or 10 months. So I need to get it fired up and updated, or whatever, to the latest software and all that kind of stuff. But yes, it's too much fun, especially for a microphone and recording nerd like me. It's just fun, like setting the rig up and doing all the kind of cool stuff mic wise you can do, and then just getting a great result. So yeah, I had a lot of fun doing it, and I will definitely do it again. Hopefully this summer, maybe fall, something like that. All right, next question is John Bringleson. He says, you always have great riffs and tones. Thank you very much. But what are your favorite guitar tones from your favorite artists? Love the channel. Keep it up. Super nice of you to say cool stuff. So my favorite tones out there are old guy tones, back from the day. I love, man, I mean, like Metallica's tone on Ride the Lightning is awesome. It's unique. It's buzzsaw, but tight and kind of, it's rad. Scott Ian and SOD, and on Among the Living, both Anthrax, Among the Living, both awesome tones. And then in the 90s, I really liked, my favorite tone of all time is on the Meshuggah album None, or the EP None. That is a fantastic tone. I've actually had the chance to sit with Fred and discuss that, and that's a Mesa 50 Cal Plus with a TC pre in front. Fantastic. I'm also just a fan of that style of Meshuggah, the more riffy kind of stuff. That's really well where I'm at, more than the single note kind of stuff they've been doing for a while. Even though that's awesome too. Don't get me wrong. Don't write letters and comments. It's not, you don't go nuts. Because that stuff's rad too. But the old riffy stuff is just like my jam. As far as new people go, man, I liked, oddly enough, it's a modern record by old dudes, but I really liked Firepower from Judas Priest, like the guitar tone. Like, I think I could take that guitar tone and make a death metal album out of it, man. I mean, it's so good. It's Andy Sneap did an amazing job on that tone, and I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's probably a Kemper profile that he had, but it's really good. Also, I like Surreption, that band. They're kind of one of the only bands that gets away with that, like a start stop stutter thing that lots of modern bands do. But Surreption's so good that I totally give them a pass, because that kind of annoys me a little bit, just because It's just so unnatural, you know? But Surreption's so rad that they totally get a pass. And I think the guitar tone's really, really good. Um, there's some others. Let's see. Anything basically Tua Madsen is involved in. I love his production and his guitar tones, from like Sick of It All records that he's done to Hate Sphere, kind of a not obscure but kind of underappreciated thrash band from Denmark. Um, yeah, so man, just so many good tones out there. I could probably just speak about it for hours. D White asks again, um, curious, is the Randall USA cab you use the same as the XL series? Also, is your Fortin cab front loaded? This Randall cab, or that Randall cab, sorry, that I use a lot is it's called the RC 412, and it was made during the time I was at Randall. I think it was like they made that from like 2013 to like 2016 or 17, something like that, only for a few years. Or maybe they made it right before that too. Maybe they made it in 12 or 11. I honestly don't remember, but I was there around 13 all the way to 16, and I got them when I was there. And they're made by Straight Edge Manufacturing. I used to have a factory in Kentucky, and they made all the orange cabinets. So the amp company Orange, they made all those cabinets here in the USA, and they also made those Randalls. So that's a great cab. The Fortin cab is front loaded. Yes, it's sealed back, front loaded, and so it's a little bit more it's tighter and maybe a little bit more focused. And then I think I answered this in the last one, but the Randall or the rear loaded cabs are a little bit kind of woofier sounding. Both rad, just depends on what you're going for. So Randy Nelson asks, what's the difference between the Evil Pumpkin and the Killer Cali you have? Also, whatever happened to Lick Lighter amps? So yeah, I'll start with the Fortin stuff real quick. So the Evil Pumpkin and the Killer Cali are pretty different. I got the Pumpkin in 2009, and I asked Mike specifically for a super tight, super thick, kind of Fear Factory meets SOD kind of thing, and that's what that ended up being. The 2 years later, I was like, man, I want something more saturated and more kind of juicy, and you know, definitely more on the rock side, but also totally able to do metal if I wanted it to. So that's the major difference is that I'd say the Killer Cali is just juicy. It's got so much gain, lots of bloom. It's a little looser, still tight, but it's a little looser. It's more liquidy. And then the Evil Pumpkin's tight and dry and fast and quick, and that's the main differences. I don't really, yeah, I mean, I like them because they're so different from each other. They really don't sound alike at all. So, or they don't, and they definitely don't feel alike. So, it's cool to have different flavors there. As far as Lick Lighter goes, I have no idea what's going on with him. I think I see him on Facebook sometimes. I think he's an HVAC guy and he's pretty busy doing that. Oh, just got a little email. That's nice. But yeah, I mean, the last amp I did demo for him was my favorite one he had done, and it was cool, And he's a nice guy, man. So, reach out to him and see what he's doing. I think you can find him on Facebook. All right, so Jake Naffs asks, what's my signal chain for the tone in this video? And he means the last fact video. How am I getting this tone sound so good? Thanks, man. That's a nice comment. That's my Solar signature guitar with a Black Winter bridge pickup straight into the Evil Pumpkin, going through the Fortin front-loaded cab. And I think microphone wise, I can't remember. That was a few weeks ago, and I'm not exactly sure what I did there, but I think it's like a 609 and a Voodoo Ribbon SE VR1 blended. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But yeah, I mean, that's just a guitar straight into that amp. I mean, that's the best thing about that amp is it needs nothing at all. No boost, no EQs, none of that stuff. And that's why it rules. You just don't need anything else with it. So Helmo the Anti-Lemon asks, what in Godzilla's name is the amp/gear using for that intro? And that's one of my Kemper profiles. That is actually, I believe, something called triple rec or tri-rec grind, I think. That's in that pack. And yeah, that's my triple rectifier loaded with EL34 tubes with a Fortin grind in front of it, going through my Randall RC 412 with a V30. And I think that's just a 57 on it that I made into a profile. I just moved the mic around about 700 times before I was happy with it. Um, but yeah, that's what that is. And yeah, I love that tone too, man. It's so heavy and brutal. All right, so that's gonna wrap it up. I talked too dang long and I answered a bunch of questions, but that's good. But hey, thanks a lot for watching this, and we'll do this again soon. Please ask questions. I can't do it unless you ask questions. So ask some questions about whatever, and we'll see you on the next one.